Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 4th December 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant from our UPSC point of view. So let's get started with our discussion and let us try to see which are the topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So first topic it is about NSO group. Actually this NSO it is mainly belongs to which country? Let me know in comment box. Actually this article which is regarding this Pegasus. So this Pegasus it is a spyware. Already we discussed the number of articles regarding this spyware in your earlier lectures. So if you see, we are going to see what government which is saying now, we are going to see that point of view and a small brief introduction regarding this Pegasus as well. So this topic will be important from governance and polity point of view, which mainly comes in the GS paper 2. And next topic is about MG Narega, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act seeks rupees 25,000 crore more. So already you know that this MG Narega scheme which is mainly facing financial crisis. So in I think 1 week ago we discussed one article regarding, so there is some supplementary grants which is mainly given to this MG Narega scheme. And now this article again saying that, so this MG Narega seeks rupees 25,000 crore more. So this article will be important regarding schemes, policies and programs of government. Here this article mainly comes under our GS paper 2. And this MG Narega scheme will be very important from your prelims point of view. And next topic is about implement panel's anti-pollution measures, says Supreme Court. Supreme Court says to this National Capital Region to implement anti-pollution measures. As you know, in this NCT region, so there is increasing of air pollution and air quality index which is a very severe now in Delhi. So because of this is a thing which mainly said by Supreme Court. So this article will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. And next topic is about new butterfly species which mainly found in Sikkim. So this will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. And next topic is about Omicron. So here already you know that this Omicron, it is a new variant of coronavirus. Here WHO, World Health Organization, mainly says that so vaccination is very important for fighting against this Omicron. So this is a thing which mainly said by WHO, and this will be important from health, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. And next topic is about corridors of health. So this article about recent UNFCCC report on elephant deaths. So other than the natural causes for the death of these elephants, there are other causes like electrocution and as well as accidents mainly caused due to this train hits and poaching and as well as poisoning. So these are some other reasons for the increasing of deaths of here elephants. So this is the report which mainly released by UNFCCC in a reply to RTI, Right to Information. Okay, so here we are going to see some important points regarding what are the measures which are taken by the government at national level and even at a global level, mainly for the conservation of these elephants. And we need to even talk about what is this Project Elephant as well. Again, this article will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. And next topic is about COP27. So as recently this COP26 is completed, right? So now there are articles which appear in today's editorial regarding this COP26. So this COP27. So this COP27 it is going to be held in Egypt, right? So here author mainly says that in this COP27 we need to focus on food systems. So there is a much data which is given in this article that will be very much helpful to write a mains answer. So again this topic will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. So these are 7 important topics that we are going to discuss in this lecture. So let us see the first article. Title says no proposal to ban NSO group. Okay, so it is talking about NSO group. So this NSO group, it is mainly responsible for this Pegasus. Okay, so actually this article will be important from polity and governance point of view. First, let us try to see some background. So as you all know, Pegasus, it is a spyware which mainly attacks a number of smartphones belongs to political leaders and as well as some Supreme Court judges and also some important personalities in India. So whenever this Pegasus which is affecting the smartphone, so it is mainly belongs to zero click attack. That means without clicking anything. Earlier if you want to hack any phone, so they will be sending one malicious link or message or a call, even WhatsApp calls. Whenever we are lifting that or whenever we are touching that, only that software will be installed in our mobiles. But now Pegasus, there is no need of clicking anything and there is no need of sending of malicious links, mails or calls, etc. And it will be easily installed in mobile phones. And even user will not know that Pegasus had been attacked their mobile phone. And after once this Pegasus which is mainly attacked that phone, and that will be having access to many of the things, like even it can operate camera as well. Okay, camera, messages and calls, photographs, etc. So all these things will be come into hands of these hackers by using this Pegasus spyware. So if you're talking about context, why it is in news now. So government has no plan to ban any group named NSO. Okay, so now government says that it has no plan to ban any group named NSO. So this is a thing which mainly said by Ministry of State of Electronics and IT. And this minister told Rajya Sabha in a written reply. Okay, in a written reply, he said that government has no plan to ban any group named NSO. So if you see some details, it mainly says that government in reply comes in a week of an uproar and a plea in the Supreme Court earlier this year over alleged use of this Israeli firm group NSO's Pegasus software. So actually what happens, so due to this Pegasus software which mainly installed or which is mainly used as a spyware, and it is mainly attacking the mobile phones of journalists and as well as politicians, activists across the worldwide, then what happened recently, Supreme Court mainly tackling this case. Okay, so if you're talking about background regarding what Supreme Court had done. So Supreme Court appointed an expert committee mainly to look after this Pegasus issue, that is Justice Ravindran Committee. Okay, so this is the one important committee that you need to remember, because you can get a question like recently Justice Ravindran Committee is seen in news, what it is related to. For example, you will be getting options like to study asteroids or to study cryptocurrencies, or for example to come up with some changes or recommendations in justice system, criminal justice system in India. And for example, it will say like it is regarding Pegasus. So that option here is, so this Justice Ravindran Committee which is mainly dealing with this Pegasus issue. Okay, so if you're talking about recommendations were given by this Justice Ravindran Committee, so court asked this Ravindran Committee to make recommendations regarding legal and policy framework, so that should protect citizens against the surveillance and enhance cyber security in the country. So this is about this committee. And if you see this infographic which mainly talking about Pegasus, so title says decoding of Pegasus. Actually I took this image actually which appeared in our earlier Hindu newspaper. So Pegasus, it is a spyware and it is mainly developed and licensed by an Israeli company. The company name here is NSO. Okay, and it can be used to infiltrate smartphones that will run even on iOS, that is in Apple phones, and as well as Android operating systems. And this method, it is like a zero click attack, as I earlier explained about that. Okay, and here after once this Pegasus installed in your mobile, so that can alter call logs so that user has no knowledge of what happened to his mobile. Okay, it can also be installed manually or on a device or over a wireless trans receiver. Okay, so these are some important things that you need to remember regarding this article. And now we'll just move on to the next topic. It is about MG Narega seeks 25,000 crore more. So this is about this MG Narega scheme. So if you see this infographic which mainly says that as many as 27 states and union territories, they have utilized more than 100% of funds which are allocated for this MG Narega till December 3rd. Okay, so most of the countries, they already completed their limits. Only some countries which are left with 10 to 15% of funds like UP here, and some northeastern states like Assam and Nagaland, and next one is Odisha and Telangana. So these are the some states they are having with 10 to 15% of funds left over, but almost all the states which have completed their budget which is allocated under this MG Narega. So we can connect this topic with this financial crunch under schemes. So you can get a question like, what will be the impact whenever there is no proper allocation for the schemes? Critically analyze. Okay, so in this context, you need to write introduction regarding this MG Narega scheme. So in MG Narega scheme, recently we saw many reports like I can say like there are the financial crunch which is mainly faced by this MG Narega, and you can write in a body like what will be the importance of this scheme. And next one is you need to write about what will be the impact whenever there is no proper budget or proper financing for any scheme. So in this way you can get a mains question from this topic, and even the facts of this MG Narega can be also asked in your prelims. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under schemes, policies and programs of government. So if you're talking about context, it mainly says that the center has sought rupees 25,000 crore. Okay, center has sought rupees 25,000 crore as additional funding for this MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act scheme, as a part of supplementary demand for grants. So under the supplementary demand of grant, here MG Narega which is going to get rupees 25,000 crore additional funding. Okay, so why there is a financial crunch? Because there is increasing of demand for work. Okay, there is increasing of demand for work, and it is a demand driven rural job scheme. So whenever there is a financial crunch, means the people, they will be not getting their payments on time, such that will be leading to further economic contraction, especially in these rural areas. Because throughout this COVID-19 period, in this tough times, so one scheme which mainly helped for ensuring of livelihood and income for the people here is MG Narega, especially in the rural areas. Even migrant people, they started moving from cities to their hometowns, and they started enrolling under this MG Narega, such that there is increasing of demand for this MG Narega now. So here in this context, here it is a government responsibility made to ensure proper funding is given for so and so scheme. And if you are talking about details, it mainly says that the additional budget for MG Narega was among the most keenly awaited, as pending payments for wages and materials have threatened to cripple implementation of the scheme. So whenever there is financial crunch that is seen, means that will lead to delay in payments. So whenever delay in payments, what happened? That people will have no income. So no income means they will not go to market, and they will not demand goods and services, right? So this is our impact. And if there is no payment, means so people, they will be starting they will be doing some protest against the government. So this will be not a good sign in a democratic country. And apart from that, if they want to go for creation of assets in their rural areas, for example water tanks, for example hospitals, and as well as schools, etc., they need to get some inventory. Okay, they need to get some materials. So the materials cannot be get if there is a lack of proper finances. And next one is continuing economic distress in rural India has led to increased demand for jobs under this scheme. Okay, so this scheme mainly promises 100 days of unskilled work for every household, and they will pay at an amount of rupees 210 per day. And the next one is, so this number of days had been increased to 150 days. So first state which came up with increase in 100 to 150 days here is Tamil Nadu. So now let us try to focus on some facts regarding the supplementary grants. So this supplementary grants is very important because if you are talking about other types of grants, we have token grant, we have vote or credit. So these are some important types of grants that are present. And a note on this grants which is given in Polity Lakshmikant. So please revise that once. Okay. So now let us try to focus on the supplementary grant. If you see about the supplementary grant, so this grant, when the amount authorized by the Parliament through Appropriation Act for a particular service for a current fiscal year, which is found insufficient. So whenever so and so amount which is mainly allocated for so and so scheme, if that amount is not adequate, means so they can go for the supplementary grants. Okay, so the supplementary grant, which is the amount which authorized by Parliament, and which article mainly talks about, that is article 115 of Indian Constitution, along with additional grants and excess grants that is mainly talked in this article. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says implement panel's anti-pollution measures, says Supreme Court. Supreme Court now says the center and as well as states and union territories to implement this panel's recommendations for decreasing this pollution. Okay, so this is in NCT, National Capital Region. Okay, NCR, National Capital Region. So here in this NCR, Delhi, so this is some guidelines which is given by Supreme Court to center and as well as states. So this article will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Supreme Court approved the measure taken by the Central Air Quality Commission to create an enforcement task force and flying squads to prevent and to penalize polluters in Delhi NCR. So who are mainly responsible for pollution in this Delhi region? So here there is a need for creation of enforcement task force and as well as flying squads. So this is a thing which mainly said. And if you're talking about details, it mainly says that recently Supreme Court directed center and as well as states in NCR to implement the orders of the panel on air quality management. So this will be helpful mainly to curb this air pollution. But some people or some sections of the media, they say that so this is mainly a villain, okay, villain which wants to close down the schools here. So this is the one important thing. Actually the content now we are going to discuss, it is not there in today's Hindu newspaper. I took from another source, that is the print. Okay, next one is a special bench which mainly headed by Chief Justice. Okay, so if you are talking about the special bench of Supreme Court, which mainly headed by our Chief Justice of India. Who is the Chief Justice of India now? That is N.V. Ramana sir. Okay, so this N.V. Ramana sir mainly took a note on measures by the Commission for Air Quality Management in this National Capital Region and as well as some adjoining areas. Okay, so in this context, here Supreme Court mainly asked center and as well as states to follow some directions which are given under this recommendations of this Commission for Air Quality Management. Okay, so here in this context, here Supreme Court said that here 5-member enforcement task force has been set up to contain air pollution in Delhi and NCR region, and they are going to be increased to 40 such squads, and this will be helpful for especially monitoring and as well as implementation of measures. So these measures which are mainly suggested by this commission. Okay, and this is about this flying squads, etc. But here one more point which mainly said by government here is ban on entry of trucks, and as well as they are mainly going for release of trucks which are mainly carrying some essential goods. Okay, and also they are allowing the vehicles which are mainly running on the cleaner fuel. So that will be continuing. So if you are talking about air quality index, so what is this air quality index? So if you see the ranking of this air quality index, that is the number of this air quality index, 0 to 50 air quality index means we can say it is a good air, and if it is increased till 100, that is 51 to 100, it is satisfactory, and 101 to 200 is moderate, 201 to 300 it is poor, and 300 to 400 it is very very poor, and 400 to 500 is a very very severe condition. So now Delhi it is in very very severe condition, that is more than 500. Okay, so now what are the measures which are mainly taken by government? So first one is it came up with banning of entry of trucks into Delhi. but they are allowing only the trucks which are mainly carrying some essential commodities. And they came up with the stopping of this construction works in Delhi. And this one is they are also introducing this odd even scheme for private vehicles, and that will mainly minimize the exceptions. And this one is task force to decide any additional steps including shutting of schools. So these are some important steps which are mainly taken in Delhi. So in this context, you need to also know about what is this graded response action plan. So if you are talking about this graded response action plan, so this mainly approved by our Supreme Court in year 2016, and it mainly works only as an emergency measure. Okay, so this GRAP, graded response action plan, which mainly works only an emergency measure. As such, the plan does not include action by various state governments to be taken throughout the year to tackle industrial, vehicular and as well as combustion emissions. Okay, and if you are talking about air quality, which mainly shifting from poor to very poor, so the measures mainly listed have to be followed since the plan is incremental in nature. Okay, so this is about this GRAP, graded response action plan. And now let us try to see next topic. If you see this image, you can see, so this is a new butterfly species, that is shutterbug, leads to be pretty find in Sikkim. So this article mainly talking about new butterfly. And if you see this image, so here the wings, okay, so here if you see the border of this butterfly, which is mainly bordered with a brown color, okay, chocolate bordered filter. Okay, so this is a butterfly species which is mainly discovered, right? So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail, and this will be important from environment and ecology. So if you see context, it mainly says that the discovery of new butterfly species whose closest relatives, they were in southeastern China and as well as they are close to this Hong Kong region. So if you see detail, one person, the person name was here Wangchuk Lepcha. So he has been having a habit of photographing butterflies, and those pictures, whatever he captured, he will be sending their pictures mainly to entomologists, like for example National Center for Biological Sciences, which is mainly located in this Bangalore. So they will mainly identify if there is any new species, or they will go for uploading them in their Butterflies of India website. So this is the hobby of this person. So in 2020, he mainly contributed a picture of a golden yellow butterfly with brown borders and as well as spots. So for the first time, he found this type of butterfly. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this butterfly, so the new species of butterfly now named as chocolate bordered flitter. Okay, chocolate border flitter, and the scientific name of this butterfly, it is Zoogrophytus zoogensis. Okay, so after this Dongyu in North Sikkim, so the name of this butterfly which is given, that is Zoogrophytus dongyunsis. So it is one of the closest relative of other butterflies which are mainly located in the southeastern China and as well as Hong Kong, etc. And if you are saying about the physical appearance, here they are also slightly differ, and as well as the internal structures of male are also differ slightly when we are comparing with other butterflies. So in this way we can easily identify those butterflies. So this is just of this topic, and I hope it is clear. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says vaccination key to battling Omicron, WHO. So already you know that this Omicron, it is a new variant of this COVID-19. So this is a new variant of coronavirus which was first identified in South Africa, and most of the countries, they are mainly facing this issue of Omicron now. So because of this Omicron, there is increasing of cases that is seen throughout the world. And even India also, we got some cases of this Omicron. In yesterday's lecture we studied that. In Karnataka, we found 2 cases of this Omicron. So now let us try to see what WHO it is saying regarding this Omicron. So World Health Organization, that is WHO, which mainly urged countries to boost healthcare capacity. So first one, we need to boost healthcare capacity. and as well as we need to vaccinate. We need to vaccinate our people. So these are the two important things that are very much important, especially to fight against this new variant of this coronavirus. So this is the thing which mainly said by WHO. So if you see some details, it mainly says that, so despite shutting its borders, so many countries, they are again thinking about shutting off of borders, or if any person who is coming from this risk countries, they need to go for compulsorily, there will be some guidelines. So even India also came with some guidelines regarding RT-PCR test, and they need to take if the test is negative, means they need to go for home quarantine for 14 hours. If they tested positive, means there will be some procedure that need to be followed. So despite shutting its borders to travel, so from high risk Southern African countries, Australia became the latest country to report community transmission of this new variant. So even though Australia went for shutting down of its borders who are coming from the South African countries, so even though there is increasing of spread of this new variant of coronavirus that is seen in its community. So people should not only rely on the border measures, but they need to also prepare their healthcare facilities, and even they need to focus on vaccination as well. So this is a thing which mainly said by this WHO. And if you see some data regarding this COVID-19 infected people, so there are about 264 million people, they have been reported to be infected by this coronavirus since first detected in China. So since first detected in China, so there are about 264 million people, they were reported positive. Okay, so it is according to Reuters study. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this WHO, that is World Health Organization, so the United Nations Specialized Agency, so it is United Nations Specialized Agency which mainly was founded in 1948, and the headquarters are mainly located in Geneva, Switzerland, and there are about 194 members and 150 country offices, and there are 6 regional offices are present for this WHO. And this WHO, it is an intergovernmental organization. It mainly works in collaboration with the member states, okay, mainly through ministries of health of so and so designated countries. So what is the important role of this WHO? So WHO, which mainly provides leadership on global health matters, and it plays an important role in shaping health research agenda and setting out of norms and standards, and even it is focusing on articulating evidence-based policy options, and even it will provide some technical support for countries, especially regarding the monitoring and as well as accessing the health trends. So this is about this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. It is about corridors of death. So this article mainly talking about recent UNFCCC report on elephant deaths, right? So now let us try to see this article in a very great detail. So this will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under GS paper 3, and this will be important exclusively from your mains point of view, and from prelims you can get a question from maybe from Project Elephant. So if you're talking about why it is in news, recently UNFCCC, that is Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which mainly gave a reply for RTI, which mainly says that about 1,160 elephants, they were killed from last 11 years by ending of this December 2020. So these are mainly because of other causes other than this natural causes. They include electrocution, and next one is railway accidents, and next one is poaching and as well as poisoning. So in yesterday's lecture we studied detailedly about what is the report highlights, and we also study about which state which is contributing for more number of electrocution cases or railway accidents, and also we studied about different schemes which are come up by the states mainly for the conservation of these elephants. So if you have not watched yesterday's lecture, please watch yesterday's lecture, that is very very important. So if you are talking about some measures which was taken by the government, so government came up with a permanent coordination committee, okay, government came up with a permanent coordination committee, and this committee mainly constituted between Ministry of Railways and as well as Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So So it is mainly focusing on preventing of elephant deaths in train accidents. And next one is it is also focusing on clearing vegetation. So if there is any railway track which is present here means, so whenever driver who is driving this train means if there is a huge vegetation or thick vegetation on this both the sides of tracks means they cannot identify elephants which are coming in their way. So because of this clearing of vegetation along this railway track, that will helpful for the proper view of this loco pilots and as well as construction of underpass or overpass of a safe passage of elephants, etc. And this one is here Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change also released huge amount of fund under this Project Elephant for conservation of these elephants. And this one is elephant also declared as a national heritage animal in 2010, that is 2010. So because of this these elephants are mainly helpful or they will be having a valuable role in this ecological services. They are keystone species and they are also considered as gardeners and as well as they will play an important role in pollination, germination of seeds and improving the fertility of soil with the dung of these elephants. So this is about what are the measures which are taken. And now let us try to see what is a Project Elephant. So this Project Elephant launched in the year 1992. So this is important prelims fact. And this Project Elephant which mainly provides financial and as well as technical support especially for wildlife management efforts by states for their free ranging populations. And it is a centrally sponsored scheme. That means here state need to share funds with the center. And if you are focusing on objectives of this Project Elephant, the first one here is to conserve elephant, that is to protect elephants in their habitats and in their corridors. And this one is to address issue of man-animal conflict, that is we can say like whenever humans are coming in contact with these animals, that will leads to conflicted situation, that will leads to killing of animals, mainly to decrease this human-animal conflict. So this scheme is mainly focusing on. And next one is the welfare of captive elephants. So these are some important objectives of this Project Elephant. And if you are talking about implementation of this scheme, so this project it is being implemented in 16 states or union territories. For example, AP, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Kerala, Maharashtra, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Orissa, Tamil Nadu, Tripura, Uttarakhand. Next one is Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal. So these are the states and union territories where this scheme is implemented. And if you are focusing on the global initiatives, you need to know about this MIKE. MIKE mainly stands for Monitoring the Illegal Killing of Elephants Program. So this program launched in year 2003 and it is international collaboration, and this MIKE which mainly track the trends in information which is related to illegal killing of elephants across Africa and as well as Asia here. And it will be also focusing mainly on field conservation efforts as well. So this is about this MIKE. And now let us try to see some recent developments regarding this elephant conservation. So it is mainly comes under our current affairs part or updation, okay, or we can see like updating our content with current affairs. So first one is seed bombs. So these seed bombs are nothing but these are the bombs, okay, I can say like it is mainly used in Odisha in forest division. They started casting seed balls, okay. So here this mainly includes different types of seeds such that will be helpful for growing of different type of plants there. That will be helpful for food stock for this wild elephants. And next one is right of passage of animals. So recently Supreme Court upheld in 2011 order of this Madras High Court that yes, this Nilagiri Elephant Corridor which is mainly affirming this right of passage of animals and to close the resorts which are present around this Nilagiri Elephant Corridor. So this is about this topic in very great detail and I hope it is very much clear. And now let us try to see next topic. So before seeing this next topic, I want to make a small announcement. So if you are trusting me, please listen just for 2 to 3 minutes. First one is we came up with this prelims test series. In this test series, there are about 30 tests which includes our CSAT and even GS. So in GS we have sectional test, we have revision test, and as well as we have full length test. So what is the importance of this test series? So many students who are especially beginners, they don't know about this importance of this test series, because if they want to go and directly write the exams, it is a blunder that you are doing. Because before going to examination, that is original examination or the main prelims examination, it is conducted by UPSC, you need to practice at least 50 to 60 tests. Okay, that will be give you an idea regarding how much you prepared, so how much you are confident, so what is the syllabus clarity in you, so whether you are understanding the questions or not, whether you have practiced this elimination techniques or not, and whether you can manage the time or not. So these are the things that you need to know before going into examination hall, that you can done by joining this test series. And if you join our test series, means the price is very low, and we are providing 30 tests, and there is a questions which are mainly based on UPSC standards, and we also including current affairs in each and every paper. So these are some specialities of our prelims test series. And apart from that, we also came up with this mains answer writing course. So in this course, we are mainly focusing on the static syllabus. So especially for the beginners who started their syllabus, if you have started within 1 week or 1 month, or if you have started your preparation from last 6 months, means, so this is the best course to join, that will help you to improve your answer writing skills. So please don't underestimate importance of answer writing here. Why? Because in prelims it is a qualifying paper, and interview, if you are getting more or less, it is not a matter, but the matter here is mains. If you are getting a more marks in your mains, then finally you can see your name in the final list for sure. So 100% you can believe my words. So for this, you need to have a strong basic. Okay, so on this basic, we will going to build on current affairs. So first we are going to complete our static syllabus, and after that we are going to build current affairs on this. So what happened? So we are giving a very less syllabus, like 2 or 3 chapters every week, and on these chapters, according to our schedule, we are giving daily 1 question. On Sunday there will be essay and as well as case study practice. Okay, there will be evaluation, and we will be giving you model answer, such that you will be having some clarity and you will be developing a skill of answer writing as well. And after completing entire GS1, we are moving to GS2, and after completing entire GS2, we are moving to GS3, and after completing entire GS3, we are moving to GS4, such that you will be having a clarity that yes, I have completed GS1, and you will be having a confidence that will boost up your confidence. So confidence, it is very important in your preparation. So if you are confident enough, then you can easily crack this UPSC. So the cost of this course, it is also very reasonable, that is just 7,200 rupees, and this is a year-long course. So what will be the benefits? The first one is you will get micro listing of topics, you will be completing your syllabus, and you will be completing each and nook and corner of your syllabus for sure, and you will be doing at least 2 times of revision, and answer writing practice will be done, and it will boost confidence in you. Okay, so these many advantages are there if you join this course, and the cost is just 7,200 rupees. So even if you want to search this type of course throughout the country, you can't get it in any institute, it is 100% sure. And next one is we also having different courses of UPSC. Okay, we have full foundational course, and we also having individual courses like economy, geography, CSAT and ethics, like that. Okay, so if you want to join the individual courses, you can join that. So the prices are also very affordable. And one thing I will be saying 100% here is, so here I am the academic director of this Rathod's IAS. So you can surely and you can trust us. There will be nothing like any fake thing. So after payment is done, so you will be getting videos, you can watch them on online. Okay, and one more advantage, if you are going through this online, means in offline you will be having a time barrier. That means the lecturer will come and he will take class for just 3 hours. Out of this 3 hours, the productive time will be less than 2 hours. So if you want to even complete that so and so topic within limited days, means it will be not possible if you are going with this offline, right? And in this offline also, they will be completing only just 20 to 30% of syllabus, not entire syllabus. So this is 100% sure. So if you join these courses, we are providing this video lectures such that you can complete it within a time span. So it is based on your stamina. So if you want to see videos for day for like 10 hours or 12 hours, you can watch it. So there is no time barrier here, so that you can complete your syllabus within time. Okay, so this will be some advantages, and there will be one-to-one mentorship will be given if you join these courses. So the details of this course are given in description box, so please visit that once, and don't forget to join these courses so you can trust us 100%. And now let's come back and let us see next topic. It is about COP27. COP27 in Egypt must focus on food systems. So it is mainly talking about food systems. So COP26 completed recently in this Glasgow, right? So they mainly talked about methane emissions, and India came up with this Panchamrit, etc. Already we discussed about this COP26, and now articles they started on this COP27. So now let us try to see this topic, and this will be important from environment and ecology, which mainly comes under our GS paper 3, and this will be important from your mains. If you are talking about COP27, so where it is going to be held? So during this COP26 conference that held in Glasgow, so in this COP26 itself they decided that this COP27 it is going to be held in Egypt. So if you see highlights of that COP26 regarding this COP27, so Egypt will host this conference in Red Sea Resort. The name of that resort here is Sharm El Sheikh. Okay, Sharm El Sheikh of Red Sea. So in this resort, this conference it is going to be held in next year. So this is a decision which is mainly taken by this Egypt president. So if you're talking about United Nations Climate Change Conference, so what are these actually? So this United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which mainly signed at United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in 1992. It is commonly called as Rio Earth Summit, or we can say Rio Conference on Earth Summit. So this UNFCCC which mainly came into enforce from 1994 onwards. Until date, there are about 197 countries they ratified. Okay, so this UNFCCC is a parent treaty of this Paris Climate Deal and also Kyoto Protocol of 1997. Okay, so these are some important details that you need to know before going into this topic. So if you're talking about what is this Conference of Parties, that is COP. So this COP, this I can say like it is apex decision making body of United Nations Convention on Forest and Climate Change. Okay, so regarding this UNFCCC, it is one of the apex decision making authority. So this COP meets in Bonn seat if the secretariat. Okay, so what happened, we can see normally every year this COP will be meeting, but due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so this COP26 had been delayed and recently which held, right? So if you're talking about why this article which is mainly talking about climate change and hunger, because already we studied about what are the highlights of this COP26. Now COP27 which is in news now. So the agenda of ending world hunger and malnutrition, so in all forms by 2030, it is facing formidable challenges as the climate crisis and hunger, they are linked inextricably, and that along with the several major drivers. So actually what happened, if you're talking about hunger it is a one important problem that we are facing. So because of this hunger, that is leading to malnutrition. So those two problems are interrelated. So here if you're talking about one important aim here is we need to eliminate hunger and as well as malnutrition, and target here is 2030. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic which has been prolonged, and due to this COVID-19 pandemic, so many people they lost their job. So many people there is no proper income. So because of that, there is increasing of hunger, increasing of poverty according to this Pew Research report as well, right? So here after this COVID-19 pandemic which mainly said that population under this chronic hunger which mainly increased from 130 million to 270 million. So the important reason here is COVID-19 pandemic. So if you're talking about data which is released by this WFP, that is World Food Program, which mainly says that whenever there is 2 degrees centigrade rise in rise of this global temperature when we are comparing with these pre-industrial levels. That will lead to 189 million additional people, they will go into this hunger. And across the world there are about 811 million groups, they do not 811 million people, they do not have enough food as per this World Food Program estimates. And 41 million people in 43 countries, they are at a high risk of famines. So whenever there is increasing of temperature, whenever there is increasing of global temperature, means we can see that will leads to droughts, that will leads to famines, etc. And that will leads to, we can say, like decreasing of agricultural production. So whenever agricultural production is decreasing, that will leads to increasing of hunger. So because of this, we need to go for adoption of resilience building for poor and as well as vulnerable communities, for they are very much critical for this food security. So in this context, what we need to think about, what we need to talk in this COP27 means, so we need to focus on reducing of emissions, and we need to have some targets regarding protecting of livelihoods of people and food security of millions. So this should be the agenda for this COP27. So this is the thing which mainly said by author. So mainly to achieve this, what can be the way forward? There are about 5 points that we are going to discuss, that will be the way forward. So first one is, we need to create resilient livelihoods and food security solutions. Okay, we need to focus on resilient livelihood and as well as food security solutions, and that will be helpful for protecting and improving the livelihoods of vulnerable communities. And apart from this, we need to go for adaptation of climate resilient food crops, for example millets. So this will be helpful for nutrition security because they are less water intensive crop. So because of climate change, we can see if there is droughts or famine is happening, that means there will be less availability of water. So in this less availability of water areas, we can't go for growing of this water intensive crops. So in that area, we can go for water less intensive crop like millets. That will be ensuring nutritional security as well. And next one is, we need to enable women control and ownership of production processes and assets, and increase value addition and local solutions. So we need to also empower women. And next one is, we need to promote resilient agriculture sector. That can be done especially by creating sustainable opportunities, and we need to focus on access to finance and even innovation for small holder farmers, etc. And next one is, we need to focus on building capacity and knowledge of civil society. And if you're saying one more thing, that is a governments for vulnerability analysis to increase food security by addressing the link between food security and as well as climate risk. So we should not see the problems like poverty, hunger, malnutrition, climate change as a separate entities. So we need to interlink everything here, and we can come up with a proper solution. So this is gist of this topic, and I hope it is very much clear. So by this I am concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.